Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. We are on day 4 of our Christmas in July, and today we are working with a Spellbinders die. This is called Festive Friends, and it is from the release back in October 2024. So I'm giving you a look at this, and we're going to create this bear that has a penguin sitting on his shoulder, and then we've got a string of lights wrapped all around there. So I'm going to put this together using a mix of some foam strips and some art glitter glue. We'll add in a little bit of dimension here. And the colors that I'm using today are from Concord and Ninth. We've got Midnight, Ivory, Watermelon, Berry Kiss, Nectar, Spiced Cider, Honeycomb, Peacock, Peanut, Hazelnut, and Black. And from a stamp market, I'm also pulling in Tropic and Forest. So popping up the collar of this sweater here, I wanted to give us a little bit of dimension. And we'll go ahead and place that down right along the top. And it's a little difficult to see here since I'm placing this down so quickly, but it is sort of the background there does have that little section popped off to the side there, so you can easily line this up. We'll get our little backing placed behind our ears. And this little thin strip for the eyes. Now, I almost forgot here to put his little muzzle on. I'm going ahead here and placing down his nose. And then after I get the cheeks put into place, you'll see I realize, uh-oh, we're missing something that doesn't quite look right. So we're going to pop that nose back off and get his little snout or muzzle, whatever you want to call it, down. And then we'll place that nose on top. Going to add a little line of our art glitter glue right along the bottom, and we'll get him attached to his sweater. And then we'll get our little penguin layered together. This penguin is so cute. I am thinking about making a card using just the penguin. Maybe, I don't know, 3 or 5 of them. Try to stack them up and see what I can come up with. And then for the brim of his hat, I want to give a little bit of dimension to that as well, just adding in little bits of that where I can. So we're going to take a very, very thin strip. This was one of the leftover ones from a previous pack. Sometimes you get lucky, and the way that those packs will cut, they give you a very, very thin sliver on one end, and that works perfectly for pieces like this. We'll get his little ball of his hat placed down, and then his scarf. And of course his little beak and his feet. Now, in order to get him attached up on sort of, I guess we would call that, he's sort of on top of the bear's head, I guess. Yeah, he's sitting along his ear. We want to place down the star first. So we're going to get that layered, and then I'm going to get my lights placed together here. These are very simple, just a little dot of glue, and we'll add our white. I do want to play around with some colors on these lights as well, and I think that would be really fun to do with maybe a trio of these penguins and see how I can make these all work together. And lastly, we've got this one little small piece, and there are two separate die cuts for the larger strands and the smaller strand, which is very, very nice. Now we'll go ahead and get this star pressed into place. Just going to peek that right behind the center of his head. And then we know how to position our penguin. I want to make sure he's down nice and tight, so I'm going to add a little dot of glue onto that star piece as well that he's holding on to. And now we can lay out our lights. So this little piece here fits perfectly between the star and kind of curves behind the back of our bear. And then we're kind of connecting that, pulling this larger strand out from behind his back and over to the side. I'm going to add a little glue under just one or maybe two of these lights. I want to give them some movement. I don't want it to be too glued down, but I also want to make sure that it is going to be secure on there. And then we'll go ahead and add this second strand for good measure, so he is sufficiently tangled up in his lights. Again, a little extra dot of glue just to make sure everything is secure. We're going to go ahead here and stamp out our sentiment on our dark blue background. I am using from Mama Elephant. This is Jingle Greetings. You have seen me use this before. It is one of my favorites. It's a go-to for my Christmas cards. And we're going to stamp out Merry and Bright because obviously we are bright with our Christmas lights. I'm going to stamp that with some Versamark ink. Of course, I did hit that with my powder tool before stamping. And then we will go ahead here and heat emboss this. And I am using, to match sort of the more off-white color or cream color of our lights, we're going to use some Simon Says Stamp cream embossing powder. For the inside, we're going to stamp out Sending Holiday Hugs. And I am using some Lawn Fawn Deep Sea ink to match our navy blue from the front of our card. I want to pop up our panel here just to make sure that this is down nice and tight. Whenever I heat emboss something, if at all possible, I want to use either some score tape or some foam tape to make sure that any warping is held down nice and tight onto our card base. So we're going to add a generous amount of this foam tape. Make sure that's down nice and tight. And then we'll press this into place on the top of our card base. We're going to glue down our bear. Since we have a little bit of dimension with the collar from his sweater and on the hat of our penguin, we're going to go ahead and glue this directly onto our card panel. And I'm just going to place that slightly off to the side to make sure that you can easily read our sentiment, balance the two out. Of course, we'll take our inside panel, add a little ATG to the back of that, and place that on the inside as well. And that will complete our card for today. Here are a few close-ups of the finished card. In the description box below, you'll find my blog post, which has additional photos and links to the supplies I've used. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.